Does anybody know what this thing is? This is a physical symbol of a lesson that I've taken way too long to learn. And that is, there is such a thing as too many motorcycles. In case you're unaware, this thing is a 5-bay battery tender, and these are expensive. I think this thing cost me just under $500 so that I could keep 5 motorcycles charged at once. The problem is, there's only 5 bays on here, which means that if I want to charge all the bikes in here, I need multiple battery tenders. And it's also worth remembering, I don't have all the bikes in the garage right now. One of them's in the van and one of them's over at Whitney's because my garage is so full of motorcycles, it's literally taking over other people's houses. And look, we've all heard the N+1 rule, that the right number of motorcycles is the number of motorcycles you currently have plus one more. But the reality is, I'm only one person, and you're probably only one person too. Riding all of these motorcycles regularly, it's just not feasible, especially when you consider that, for example, the Aprilia is currently buried behind 2 other motorcycles because this is just a 2-car garage. And the reality is, the worst thing that you can do to any motorcycle is let it sit. Just ask my VMAX. This thing sat for 10 years and it cost thousands and thousands of dollars for me to get this thing to start running again. Not to mention the thousands and thousands of dollars that I spent to make it look good again, but that's besides the point. We're just talking about running. And I'm gonna insert a clip right here that I was doing when I was filming my reveal video for the XSR 900 giveaway, which, by the way, there's a link down in the description if you want to get entered to win this thing. Oh no. Did I leave the lights on? Uh-oh. I got a hill. I can bump start it. There we go. That is specifically why I bought this thing right here. Because I was sick and tired of coming out to the garage, trying to go to a motorcycle that I knew I hadn't ridden in a minute, and finding the battery dead. Bikes like my Super Duke over there are very, very particular about the batteries that are in them. And if they see too much voltage drop when you start the motorcycle, it throws all kinds of codes and it becomes just this maintenance nightmare. Currently, every single one of these motorcycles that you see behind me needs some form of maintenance. The KTM needs a new rear tire because of course it does. The NK needs an oil change. The Janus needs nitrous and a fancy new carburetor because I'm trying to kill it. The Aprilia back there needs its 15,000 kilometer service. The VMAX right here has a cam chain tensioner problem. And then mercifully, because I just bought that XSR 900, it doesn't need anything yet. Although technically I did let the battery run down, so I may need to put a new battery in it because I'm an idiot. Not to mention my Sportster, which is currently sitting in the van right now because it's my track bike, which is hysterical. But that thing, I'm pretty sure, has a bent push rod, which means head's gotta come off. And then it desperately needs an oil change because nobody designed Sportster oil to go through that kind of abuse. Now, I'm actually the kind of person who really enjoys doing motorcycle maintenance. For example, I came out here recently to do the clutch on the VMAX, and it took a little bit longer than it should have because the gasket had been sitting on there for 20 years, and I didn't really have the tools that I needed to get the gasket material off really quickly. I ended up having to use a cocktail of Scotch-Brite, brake cleaner, and elbow grease to get it off, and I found that really kind of fulfilling because I started with this really dirty gasketing surface and then rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and it was clean, and now the motorcycle is holding oil where before it didn't. But when you have this many motorcycles in the garage, it really just becomes a never-ending parade of maintenance, and you spend more time wrenching than you do riding. And honestly guys, I'm just sick and tired of doing all of this maintenance and spending all this time and effort and money on bikes that get ridden every so often. So I've decided to take a bunch of these motorcycles, sell them, and turn them into one bike. Believe it or not, the first bike that's on the chopping block is my beloved Aprilia RSV-R 210 right here. This thing was kind of the ultimate impulse purchase because when I saw it at AF1 and I got to go ride it, I was like, I can own a piece of Aprilia history and it only costs like $7,500. Hell yes, I'm gonna do that. This is basically the ultimate motorcyclist's motorcycle, right? And the way that the story goes is when Aprilia was selling the Falco, there were a bunch of aftermarket mods that would turn the Falco into a street fighter. And that was really cool, and people were selling the crap out of those. And so Aprilia was basically like, well, okay, why don't we just get in on that market? And hence the Tuono. It was really kind of the first hyper naked back in the day. And it was one of those bikes that actually really kind of terrified the motorcycle journalists, which is hysterical when you think of what this bike actually made power-wise back in the day. It just wasn't that much power. But, you know, that's basically us just looking at it with 2020 vision, because when you actually think of what this thing became by 2020, it was a V4 monster. But the RSVR Limited here is actually a really unique motorcycle because A, there's only 250, I believe, of these worldwide. And this is number 176. I believe that there are 50 in the United States. And something that makes this bike so unique is the bodywork that's on here. We have full carbon fiber and Kevlar bodywork. Carbon fiber up here, Kevlar down here. And then the seats actually have a Kevlar weave in them. Something that makes 176 here very unique is the fact that the folks at AF1 have a really good history with this bike. I believe it started life at a dealership in San Antonio, and then it ended up in the loving care of the folks over at AF1. And it basically just keeps going back to AF1, getting sold, coming back to AF1. And as a result, they have like all of these service records for it. They're also the people who put a 1060 big bore kit and the Gabbro chip, which is actually like, I believe, soldered onto the ECU because that's how it had to be done back in the day. So I think this bike is making close to like 130 or 140 horsepower, which when you consider what this bike is, it's just a cable throttle and a giant V-twin and no rider aids. It's freaking insane. But when it comes to this motorcycle in this garage, there's a twofold reality. First and foremost, I already have a Super Duke R Evo. I purchased it last year, and I've been riding that bike more than I've been riding this one. It's not that I don't like this bike, I've been enjoying the Super Duke more. Also, let's be real, if I were to drop my Super Duke, I'd be bummed, but if I were to drop this, I would be gutted because the bodywork on here is literally irreplaceable. If this goes down, it's done. It's just gone. And that's been resulting in a little bit of anxiety for me when I want to go ride this motorcycle. I don't think I'm gonna crash, but I'm just like, well, what if? What if in the back of my mind? Also, I have a unique relationship with motorcycles because at the end of the day, I ride them for a living. I do videos on bikes. And I kind of have to look at the performance on the internet that certain bikes have. And the reality is, as cool as this motorcycle is to me, nobody on the internet cares. And I kind of saw that when I made the first video on it. I think it only has like 15,000 views right now. And that's just not enough to justify a motorcycle in the garage. And as much as it's gonna hurt me to let this thing go, I know it's going back to AF1. And the people there are going to love it, they're gonna take care of it, and it's gonna go on to a new owner who loves and appreciates this platform as much as I do, because this is a truly special motorcycle. There will never be another year one Aprilia that rolls through my garage. Now, you heard me right a little bit earlier on when I said that the reason why I'm getting rid of a bunch of these motorcycles is because I wanna upgrade to one bike, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to sell a handful of other ones. But if you're at home thinking about trying to upgrade your motorcycle because it's a little bit old and it doesn't have the tech that you start seeing on these modern motorcycles, I might actually have a solution for you. Right here is a Chigee dashboard, and this is a super easy way to add some modern technology to an older motorcycle. This thing is a truly universal dashboard that will fit on any motorcycle, regardless of whether it's a sport bike, naked bike, cruiser, adventure, dual sport, electric dirt bike, whatever you can think of, it'll fit on it. Not only is it a full color touchscreen TFT dash, but it also has dash cams built in, which are always recording. They act as a blind spot monitor, and this has Android Auto and CarPlay built in. You can even pull data directly off your motorcycle with some of their OBD ports. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, click that link down in the description below where you can get one of these Chigees for 10% off using the code SPITESCORNER. And with that, let's figure out what bike is next on the chopping block. Next one on the chopping block is the Janus Halcyon 250, and there's not going to be some big tearful goodbye with this one because I honestly never really intended to keep this bike. It's just still here mostly out of inertia. For those of you who are unaware, there was this huge kerfuffle in the summer of 2025 when Doodle had her accident on a Janus Halcyon 250. And the internet exploded, wondering whether or not it was the motorcycle to blame, whether or not it was the suspension, or whether or not it was the grooved tires with the straight sipes, or it was the grooved pavement, or the combination of all sorts of other things that made this crash happen. And so many people were wondering, is the Halcyon 250 unsafe? And I'm here to tell you, yes, because it's a motorcycle. But no, it's not unsafe. It's completely fine. I actually had the opportunity to go to the Janus factory and ride the same road that Doodle crashed. I also happened to weigh probably like another Doodle on top of what Doodle weighs, so that has something to do with it. But I tried to throw a steering wobble on that same set of groove pavement, and the bike just straightened right out and rode. But you heard me mention it before, I'm putting nitrous on this Janus for no good reason, really, just because I can. And one of the Discord members, Chigee, actually created this carburetor right here that has another power jet on it. So hopefully it's going to be able to perform well with the nitrous, or it'll just explode. I kind of have an anticipation of when I do this, I'm gonna hit the button, the nitrous is gonna go, and the motorcycle's just gonna die. And that's fine, that's a result too. And as a part of that video, I'm basically just gonna be like, I put nitrous on my Janus, and then I tried to sell it. So we're gonna see whether or not I can sell this thing with nitrous on it. And in case you're curious, it's not like a big bottle shot, it's just these little whippets. Maybe, just maybe, we'll hit 70 miles an hour out of this little 250. That would be really, really funny. I just need time to put the thing together. It really wouldn't take all that long. I need time to film the whole thing. And then once I'm done with it, I'm gonna sell it. And I'm probably only gonna ask for like $2,000 for it because it's not really worth all that much. And this brings me to my beloved Sportster, which a lot like a ship's captain in the Warhammer 40k universe, conscripted into the service of an Imperial Inquisitor, it really has only one choice, and that is to serve dutifully until death releases it or the Inquisitor deems its debts fulfilled. Which comes first for this bike? I don't know, because I'm pretty sure, like I said earlier, that it has a bent pushrod in here somewhere. But it keeps running, and I keep riding it at redline, and it just, I don't know, it keeps working. So we're just gonna keep riding it. My original idea with this motorcycle was to spend the time and effort to turn this thing into a proper sport bike. I'm talking 17-inch rims, proper suspension, proper brakes, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, kind of like with the Aprilia, the YouTube algorithm basically decided that the Sportster wasn't interesting to people. That is not gonna stop me from releasing some content about this on the racetrack, because the lesson that I've learned after multiple track days on this thing is that it works so well. It's like a giant 400, basically. You hit apexes all the time because you have to have good body position to ride this thing quick around a racetrack. You have to be able to look through a corner properly to guide this thing around a racetrack. It teaches you so many good lessons, and it's a perfect learning platform, ironically, despite how kinda terrible the ground clearance is, because I drag these foot pegs frickin' everywhere because they're so far out because the motor's really wide. But the thing is, the Sportster is one of my favorite motorcycles of all time, honestly. I love the Sportster platform and what it represents. This is the image of American motorcycling to me, and with horribly warped rotors. That's not right. The rotors on this motorcycle, both of them are warped, and they're warped in basically opposite ways. So like one brake pulses while the other one's working, and then the other brake pulses while the other one's working. It just switches back and forth. It's like ABS. So you're never gonna lock the front brakes up coming into a corner right now, but I desperately need to replace those rotors. That's gonna be expensive. A fun little side note on the Sportster, I'm not sure if you can see all of those like high-speed oil drips right there and down the heads, both front and rear. That is because the crankcase breather bolts right here, those things wiggle free and they're completely rounded off. So I basically get them as tight as I can, and then I have to just hope, fingers crossed, that it's gonna work. I completely need to replace this breather. The mounting hardware is screwed and it was never Loctited, and it's guaranteed that after a certain number of laps, both of those will wiggle free. That poor Sportster lives its life at 5,500 plus RPM all the time. I will see 6,000 RPM on that, and the red line's set at 5,500. So no wonder I may have a bent push rod. But I know these motors. They can rev up a little faster than that. 5,500 is like out of mercy. And until I can determine that this motorcycle has officially been replaced by the next one that's coming in, and it is no longer of service to the Imperium, it will remain loyal, no matter what I do to it. It will not die. But that gives me a good opportunity to hit the road and talk about what's coming next in the garage, because it's actually really kind of exciting.
It's safe to say there's one motorcycle that is not leaving the garage anytime soon, and that's the VMAX right here. I am keeping this thing basically until it explodes. I don't know when that is or if it will explode. I think there's a cam chain tensioner problem though that I gotta sort out, but this one's too much fun and it's too personal, and I've grown too attached to it to let it go. I mean, I did have it in the hand-built show last year. But I do want to talk about the bikes that are staying, because I'm keeping the Super Duke because it's like the perfect bike for me. And then I'm keeping this thing, and then the Sportster sort of lives in this limbo, right? It's not finished its secondment to the Inquisition yet. It lives in this weird purgatory because, for those of y'all who are unaware, I have a deposit down on a Super Cruiser. I actually put my $1,000 down on a Buell Super Cruiser. It's too much of a bike that was built for me to not put my money where my mouth is here. I've been bitching and moaning about Harley not doing that. So the Super Cruiser stuff is coming. I don't know when the bike is going to show up. I'm currently in talks with Buell, so we'll see if I can't maybe jump the line a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, it's in the works. And I think this is as good a time as any to talk a little bit about the channel, because in December I made that video talking about how the channel was kind of treading water, I think is a nice way to put it. But it was in rough shape. And since then, things have sort of stabilized a little bit, and that's in due in no small part to you guys showing up and watching the videos. So a pat on the back to all of y'all. Just again, I could not do this stuff without you guys. And I've got so much content on the back burner right now. So much stuff that I want to get done. Like today, I had the opportunity to ride a Ducati V4S. So I've got a video coming out on that. Don't know when it's going to hit, but I'm kind of going through the entire AF1 vehicle pool. All of their demo bikes, all of the used bikes that are in the dealership, whatever I can get my hands on. Tracer 900. I've got a Bear 650. Triumph 400 XC, Triumph 1200 XE or XC, I don't remember. MV Agustas, all this cool stuff. I got so many bikes that I'm working on. I even have my Harley track project kind of laid out in my brain. I know exactly what I'm doing with it, with that video anyway. I've got a great video coming up on the VMAX. So if you're interested in seeing any of this behind the scenes stuff, by the way, a lot of this, I make these like almost daily videos now. I mean, it's not daily, but every time I've got something worth sharing, it goes out to the Discord folks. And if you're interested in checking that out, you can click the link down in the description below. Check out the Patreon. It is the best way to support the channel. There is also YouTube membership if you would prefer that as well. I'm also spending a lot of time behind the scenes reinvesting in the channel. Basically, any extra revenue is going right back into the channel. I've got some outside coaching help that I'm working on that should help me deliver better content for you guys. But I do want to take just a quick second and poll the crowd and see, you know, what exactly you guys might be looking for this riding season, because based on my analytics, based on what I'm seeing and what you guys are watching, the answer is big American V-twins, which is kind of funny. Whether it's Duncan on Harley or it's Lovin on Indian or Buell Super Cruiser stuff, that stuff is pretty consistently hitting. So either somebody's out there watching it, or the vocal crowd just they're not digging on it. I don't know. Somebody is, and that's a big impetus behind the Super Cruiser. But also, the Super Cruiser is just a motorcycle that I really want. So, in a sense, I'm leveraging the channel's reach for selfish aims. But yeah, I am interested to hear what you guys may want to see coming up. Another big reason why I'm winnowing the bikes in the garage is so that I can request loaners more readily from companies. Like right now, I've got a Honda CB750 in the garage and an XSR 900 that we're giving away. Link down in the description below, by the way. Both of those are temporary bikes. Like I think the Honda's leaving in April. I've got a couple of videos that I want to do with that one still. Those are all gonna kind of start hitting probably mid-April to end of April. But I can now, I've got contacts with so many different manufacturers that I can start requesting motorcycles. So if you guys want to see a particular bike or something like that, let me know, because I have more access now than I ever have in the past. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's just like a little bit of an update, a behind the scenes look, and explanation as to where some of my bikes are going and what's coming in the future. So yeah, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.